Behind Hollywood's bright lights and glitz, there are stories of family connections that many of us never even knew existed. Fathers who became legends on the big screen, paving the way with unforgettable performances, and sons who stepped into the spotlight years later, each trying to find their own identity, sometimes following in their father's footsteps, and sometimes taking a completely different path. These relationships are fascinating, because they show us how talent, passion, and even a love for the craft can run in families, even when the sons choose to make a name for themselves in new ways. Take Dennis Quaid and Jack Quaid, for example. Dennis Quaid ruled Hollywood during the 1980s with charm, a magnetic personality, and a series of unforgettable roles. He played astronauts, soldiers, and romantic leads with a style that made audiences fall in love with him over and over again. Movies like The Right Stuff, The Parent Trap, and The Big Easy made him a household name, and for decades, he was known for his on-screen presence and undeniable charisma. But then there's Jack Quaid, his son with Meg Ryan. Jack didn't simply step into his father's shadow. Instead, he carved his own path. Rather than going for romantic comedies or easy, safe roles, he chose projects that challenged him and gave him a unique identity. His breakout role as Huey Campbell in The Boys shocked audiences, showing that he could be compelling in a completely different way from his father. Where Dennis's energy was bold and theatrical, Jack's performance was subtle, emotional, and quietly powerful. He went on to explore different genres, from horror to indie films, and even voice acting in Star Trek: Lower Decks, proving that he wasn't relying on his family name, but creating a career built on talent and choice. Two different eras, two different styles, and yet the same bloodline connecting them. Their story is just one example of the many surprising father-son duos in Hollywood, where legacy and individuality meet in fascinating ways. Another example is Gary Busey and Jake Busey. Gary Busey made a name for himself as one of Hollywood's wildest and most intense actors. His portrayal of Buddy Holly in the 1978 movie earned him an Oscar nomination and made audiences sit up and notice his energy and unpredictability. Gary was an actor who seemed to live every role, and his intensity off-screen often mirrored the energy he brought to the characters he played. His son, Jake Busey, grew up around that fire, learning from a father who didn't hold back. But instead of following the exact same path, Jake used his own energy and talent to create something new. His performance in Starship Troopers was a bold, defiant statement that he could hold his own in Hollywood without copying his father. Over the years, he has appeared in a variety of projects, from cult favorites to steady television roles, showing discipline and craft. Where Gary was stormy and unpredictable, Jake's talent is calculated, precise, and deliberate. Different generations, but the same spark runs through both of them. These stories remind us that sometimes talent in Hollywood isn't just learned, it's inherited, shaped, and then reinvented. James Marsden and Jack Marsden show a different side of these relationships. James Marsden became a heartthrob and a familiar face in Hollywood, known for his charm, good looks, and ability to capture emotional depth without ever overacting. Roles in the X-Men series, Enchanted, and other films showed his range, and he became a symbol of consistent, relatable talent. But his son, Jack Marsden, born in 2001, didn't necessarily follow in his father's footsteps on the screen. Instead, Jack explored music and fashion, building a career in ways that felt more personal and creative. Where James conquered the red carpet and box office, Jack found his stage in recording studios and fashion shows. While they both share the same family traits, the cheekbones, the quiet confidence, the intensity, they express themselves in very different ways. The Marstons show us that legacy doesn't always mean repeating what came before. Sometimes, it's about exploring new paths while honoring the family's creative spirit. Michael Keaton and Sean Douglas demonstrate yet another form of legacy. Michael Keaton became famous for his versatility, moving from comedy to blockbuster movies, from Batman to Birdman. He showed audiences that an actor could be unhinged, hilarious, dramatic, and still command attention. His son, Sean Douglas, chose a different path in the arts, focusing on music rather than acting. He wrote songs that became hits for major artists, achieving recognition in a completely different industry. While Michael was constantly in the public eye, Sean created behind the scenes, proving that artistic talent can run in families even when it's expressed differently. These stories continue with actors like Sean Penn and Hopper Penn, where intensity seems to be the defining trait. Sean Penn is known for his powerhouse performances and multiple Academy Awards, while his son, Hopper, has taken a quieter, more thoughtful approach, slowly carving out a career in smaller indie projects. Where Sean burned bright and intense, Hopper has opted for a slower, steadier flame, showing that each generation can define its own version of talent, even under the pressure of a famous name. The differences in style, medium, and personality make these father-son stories so fascinating. They show that inheritance isn't always about copying what came before. Sometimes, it's about taking what you're given and creating something entirely your own. The Hollywood legacy continues with John Ritter and his sons, Jason and Tyler Ritter. John Ritter was a comedy legend, bringing warmth, humor, and charm to shows like Three's Company. His timing, personality, and ability to make people laugh left a lasting impact. But when he passed away suddenly in 2003, his sons were left with a huge legacy to navigate. Jason Ritter emerged as an actor in his own right, showing a quiet sensitivity and emotional depth in projects like Parenthood and voice acting for animated films. He didn't try to replicate his father's comedic style, but instead brought his own voice to the screen, quietly honoring the family legacy. Tyler Ritter, younger and more reserved, followed a similar path, appearing in television shows like NCIS and Arrow, demonstrating that sometimes the quiet, steady approach is just as powerful as laughter and showmanship. These examples show how family legacies can take different forms, and how each person can approach fame and talent in their own way. Ryan Phillippe and Deacon Phillippe offer another look at this dynamic. Ryan was a teen heartthrob in the late 1990s, known for movies like Cruel Intentions and I Know What You Did Last Summer. He captivated audiences with his good looks and charisma. His son, Deacon Phillippe, born in 2003, chose to follow a different path. Instead of acting immediately, Deacon focused on music, releasing his debut single Long Run in 2022. While Ryan made a name through film and television, Deacon is building a following online, creating music that resonates with his generation. The difference in medium shows how each generation can take the same creative energy and apply it in a way that feels authentic to their time. Ethan Hawke and Levon Rome Thurman Hawke also provide an example of creative inheritance. Ethan Hawke has long been recognized as an actor, writer, and thinker, appearing in films such as Dead Poets Society, The Before Trilogy, and Training Day. His son, Levon, born to Ethan and Uma Thurman, is still in the early stages of his career, experimenting with acting and music. While he hasn't made major headlines yet, his early roles suggest a quiet confidence and talent that echoes his father's curiosity and depth. The Hawks demonstrate that artistic ability can be nurtured and expressed in many forms, not just in the exact same way as a parent. In music, the legacy story continues with Julio Iglesias and his sons, Julio Jr. and Enrique Iglesias. Julio Iglesias became an international star, selling hundreds of millions of records and captivating audiences worldwide with his smooth voice and romantic style. His eldest son, Julio Jr., followed in his father's footsteps but never fully eclipsed the original star. Meanwhile, Enrique Iglesias took the musical world by storm, becoming a global pop icon with hits in multiple languages and performances around the world. While Julio was romantic and classic, Enrique brought energy, passion, and modern pop sensibilities, showing how family talent can evolve across generations. Billy Ray Cyrus and his children show a similar diversity within the same family. Billy Ray exploded onto the music scene with Achy, Breaky Heart, becoming a cultural phenomenon. His children, Trace and Bryson, chose very different paths. Trace embraced pop and electronic music with his band Metro Station, creating a sound that was completely different from his father's country roots. Bryson, on the other hand, followed a quieter, more traditional path in country and folk music. Billy Ray himself continued to evolve, working with younger artists and embracing new music styles. Their story shows that even when talent runs in the family, expression can take multiple directions, and everyone can find their own voice. Ice Cube and O'Shea Jackson Jr. provide a father-son story that mixes music and film. Ice Cube became a legendary rapper, delivering powerful messages through NWA and later transitioning to acting in major Hollywood films. His son, O'Shea Jackson Jr., took on the unique challenge of portraying his father in the film Straight Outta Compton. While he could have relied on his father's reputation, O'Shea expanded into his own career, appearing in blockbusters and indie films, proving that legacy doesn't mean copying, it means building on it with your own style. Will Smith and Jaden Smith show a different dynamic. Will built his fame through music, television, and film, becoming one of the most recognizable stars in Hollywood history. Jaden grew up in that world but chose to express himself in unique ways, experimenting with acting, fashion, music, and even social activism. He didn't simply follow in his father's footsteps, he created a path that reflected his personality and interests. This duo reminds us that sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is the freedom to explore and grow independently. Tom Hanks and Colin Hanks offer a similar lesson. Tom Hanks is beloved for his ability to capture humanity and warmth in every role, from Forrest Gump to Saving Private Ryan. His son, Colin Hanks, chose a quieter route, appearing in television and film with understated performances that show his own style and range. The Hanks duo illustrates how each generation can maintain the essence of a legacy while expressing themselves differently. Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell highlight a more unexpected path. Kurt has always been known as a cool, charismatic action star, while his son Wyatt took a slower, more introspective path, including a career in professional hockey before moving to acting. Wyatt brings a grittier, deeper style to his roles, showing that even when a father is larger than life, a son can carve out a completely new identity. These stories emphasize that Hollywood talent isn't simply handed down, it's interpreted, transformed, and reinvented by each generation. Comedy families also have incredible stories, like Jerry Stiller and Ben Stiller. Jerry was a legendary comedian with a larger-than-life personality, unforgettable in roles like Frank Costanza in Seinfeld. His son, Ben, grew up immersed in comedy but chose a different path. Ben became a director, writer, and actor, building his own empire with films like Zoolander and Tropic Thunder. He used his father's influence not to imitate but to learn timing, storytelling, and comedic instincts. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Cooper Hoffman show a more serious side of legacy. Philip was a master of raw emotion, bringing complex characters to life with depth and nuance. His son Cooper has followed in his footsteps, displaying talent and emotional intelligence in his early projects. While Cooper is still young, the presence of his father's influence is clear, showing that legacy can be both inspiring and grounding. Robert Pine and Chris Pine offer an example of calm, steady influence. Robert had a long television career, known for consistency and professionalism, while Chris became a modern action star with a strong presence in blockbuster films like Star Trek. Both father and son have their own strengths, demonstrating that legacy can take multiple forms: quiet dedication or dazzling charisma. Lloyd Bridges and his sons, Jeff and Bo, represent a family built on depth and versatility. Lloyd was a reliable and versatile actor, and both of his sons have taken that foundation and expanded it. Jeff became a legendary figure in film with roles in Crazy Heart and The Big Lebowski, while Bo balanced drama and comedy with equal talent. Their story highlights how family influence can create layers of success across generations. Stellan Skarsgård and his 4 sons, Alexander, Gustav, Bill, and Walter, showcase talent running deep across an entire family. Each son has pursued a unique path, from television and indie films to international blockbusters, while maintaining the signature depth and intensity of their father. Julio Iglesias and his sons show how music can follow similar patterns, with Julio Jr. continuing a quieter path while Enrique reached global stardom. Billy Ray Cyrus and his children highlight the multiple directions talent can take within the same family, from country to pop to folk music. Ice Cube and O'Shea Jackson Jr., Will Smith and Jaden Smith, Tom Hanks and Colin Hanks, Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell, Jerry Stiller and Ben Stiller, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Cooper Hoffman, each pair shows a fascinating mixture of inheritance, personal choice, and creative evolution. Whether in acting, music, or comedy, the sons often take elements of their father's talent and twist them into something new, proving that legacy is not just about repetition but about growth and transformation. These stories remind us that family ties in Hollywood are sometimes hidden in plain sight, yet they shape careers, choices, and creative energy in profound ways. They teach us that fame can be a gift, but individuality is the true mark of lasting talent. Each father-son duo has a unique story, a blend of shared blood and separate vision, showing that while genetics may pass down talent, it's each person's choices, risks, and creativity that define how that talent shines. From classic Hollywood to modern pop culture, these 22 father-son pairs reveal the fascinating ways in which family, talent, and ambition intersect, creating stories that inspire, surprise, and entertain. Behind every famous name, there may be a son quietly carrying the torch, or redefining it entirely, reminding us that in Hollywood, the spotlight is not only inherited but also reinvented for every generation. Finally, there are father-son pairs whose stories are less about fame and more about the hidden craft that runs through families in Hollywood. Consider Mel Gibson and Milo Gibson. Mel Gibson's career has been defined by blockbuster hits, memorable performances, and occasional controversies. Milo Gibson, his son, has stepped into acting with a mix of action films and dramas, showing that while the legacy can open doors, talent and dedication determine lasting impact. Similarly, in comedy and writing, Woody Allen and his children, though complex in personal history, illustrate how creativity, humor, and artistic vision can run in families, influencing new generations in unexpected ways. Another striking duo is Kirk Douglas and Michael Douglas. Kirk's legendary career in classic Hollywood set a benchmark for talent, ambition, and charisma. Michael Douglas inherited more than a name. He inherited a drive to innovate, to take on roles with complexity, and to produce films that mattered. Their connection is visible in style, dedication, and the ability to captivate audiences across decades. Even in television, we see fascinating connections. Ron Howard and Bryce Dallas Howard demonstrate how storytelling and performance can run in families. Ron's career as an actor and director built Hollywood knowledge, while Bryce carved her own identity through acting roles that explore complex, nuanced characters. Similarly, in music-driven families, Bobby Brown and Bobby Brown Jr. remind us that talent isn't always linear. Influence, inspiration, and personal choices shape how each generation expresses creativity. Across Hollywood, from comedy to drama, action to music, these father-son connections reveal a common theme: the challenge of navigating legacy. Some sons choose to step directly into the limelight, echoing their fathers' careers, while others carve new paths entirely, expressing creativity in ways that may not immediately connect to the original fame but still reflect the family's artistic DNA. The fascinating part is seeing how talent evolves. It may appear differently in the next generation, but it often carries echoes of the past: confidence, drive, emotion, or technical skill. And for audiences, discovering these hidden connections brings a new appreciation. Suddenly, that actor, musician, or performer is no longer just a face on the screen. They are part of a story that spans decades, generations, and creative journeys. From Dennis and Jack Quaid, to Sean and Hopper Penn, to Clint and Scott Eastwood, each duo shows that Hollywood's family stories are full of surprises, contrasts, and inspiration. These narratives remind us that while fame may be fleeting, legacy is enduring. Fathers may have built the stage, but sons often find ways to dance on it differently, showing the world that talent is both inherited and reinvented. Whether through film, music, or other creative endeavors, these father-son relationships